everybody, welcome back to Board Game Blunder. I am Zee Garcia. Today we are talking about big games in small boxes, which I love. I love to discover a big experience, something I was not expecting in a small, unassuming box. It gives me anyway, a wonderful feeling of stumbling onto something I was not expecting, and I just adore that feeling. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get to that, we have a little bit of a giveaway for you, a little sweepstakes for you. And this is thanks to Renegade Game Studios, who is helping us out with this one. We are going to be giving away a copy of their brand new The Blood of an Englishman, which very much personifies what we're talking about today here. Small box, but a nice amount of game in there. 2-player card game, as well as a copy of Lotus, their flower building game. A gorgeous looking game. So we're going to be giving both of those away together to one lucky winner. And how do we enter? So very simple. You're going to send me an email, zdicetower@gmail.com. I'm going to put that across the screen, of course. I want the subject to say Renegade for Renegade Game Studios. And I would like you to tell me in the email, quite simply, what game are you most looking forward to from next year? The year's almost over. I'm curious as to what's coming out, what everybody's psyched about. So tell me that. What are you most looking forward to in 2017? zdicetower@gmail.com, Renegade, and what you're looking forward to. I'm going to be keeping this one open until the 11th of December 2016. So that gives you plenty of time to enter. By the end of that day, I'm going to stop taking in the submissions, and then I'll randomly pick a winner, and we will announce that winner on the next episode of Blunder, so a couple of weeks from when this one goes up. All right? So that's pretty much it. Please enter, and please go visit RenegadeGameStudios.com. They do wonderful stuff. They are an amazing company, putting out really interesting games, really wonderful stuff. So check them out. Enter the contest. You could win a couple of really fun games. And that's it. I guess we better kick off this episode right away. Here we go.
Howdy folks, Rebecca here from Player Showdown. Are you looking for a dice placement, card drafting, area control game with an archaeology theme, all wrapped together in a teeny tiny little box? Well then look no further
than Artifacts Inc. Let's take a look.
So this is the 2-player setup for Artifacts Inc. Artifacts Inc. was created by Red Raven Games, takes 2 to 4 players, lasts about 60 minutes of game time.
Artifacts Inc. is a dice placement game along the lines of Alien Frontiers and Kingsburg, if you're familiar with those games. The dice, you roll them and use those dice to do various things. You can use them to purchase new cards, to get new powers. You can create artifacts which you can sell in the museum, or you can go diving for artifacts. On top of that, there's a layer of area control, because when you sell your artifacts in the museum, you put little cubes, and at the end of the game, you get little bonuses for having area control in the museum. So it's got a lot of different ways that you can play this game. You can go make lots of artifacts, or you can do the diving, or you can try to get the area control, or a little bit of everything. You can build up your tableau and get cards that give you bonuses at the end of the game. There is a lot going on in this little tiny box.
Yes, one thing that I like about it, actually several things that I like about it, is there are 3 different levels here, and there's different bonuses associated with them. And each card has 2 sides. You can upgrade the cards that you do have and purchase to get even more of those powers. The other thing that I find interesting is that this scales really well. This is really fun to play 2-player, and it's really fun to play 4-player. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, the only thing you really change for the number of players is the museums have another side. And I don't know if you guys can see it, the 2-player side has just a few little places you can put your cubes for area control, but the 3- and 4-player game has more places. So obviously more players, more places to put your cubes.
Exactly, so everything else stays the same, which is also really great for transitioning from 2 to 4 players.
Yeah, one of the things I like about it is the strategy. One of the kind of hidden strategies in this game is how many dice you want to get to roll. Because when you start the game, you have a little card that lets you roll 3 dice, but then you can upgrade that to 4, and you can even buy an upgrade to get to 5, and then you can even go to 6 if you're really crazy. So it's kind of a balancing act of how much time do I want to spend getting dice, but then when you're wasting time, you could be buying cards and doing other things, but then you get more actions later on. So it's kind of a balancing act.
Another thing that you can balance in the game is the diving. You can ignore it completely, but that gives other players an opportunity to run away with the game, because as they collect these bonuses are based off of the little artifacts, the different types that you collect when you dive, and the points for those stack up significantly the more you collect.
While Artifacts Inc. comes in a small little box that's easily portable, it spreads out over a large area to play. So it's not really a portable game. It comes in a little box, but it truly is a big game in a small box.
The only other negative that I can think of for the game is the dice are extremely boring, ugly little brown dice, so you may want to get some fun dice to trick up the game. But otherwise, the cards and everything else are great and colorful. So, if you want to try a really big, fun archaeology game that comes in a small box, check out Artifacts Inc. Thank you so much for joining.
Cool catchphrase!
Hi everyone, this is Ferdinand the Carpet Stacker, and since we're talking about little games, I want to show you some of these really tiny games called the Paco games, part of the Paco Games series. So there are 8 in the first series, and there'll be more to come very soon. These are designed by Chris Handy, who designed all of these little things, but while I don't have much time to explain how all of them play, I'm just going to show you some of my favorites. So the first game I like to show off is Hue, and this is the first in the series, and this is a kind of like a color matching abstract game. You can either play with 2 players or you can play with more players, but what you're trying to do is you have a hand of cards, and well, these little tiny cards. Let me go ahead and show you. So here's an example of one of the cards. Here's another one. So you're trying to do is you're laying down cards, and you have to match them as you lay them. It's a little bit like a tile card laying game. And that as you play it, you have less cards in your hand, and then the very last card you'll be scoring with it. So if I have this one as my last card, I'll be scoring for red, blue, and yellow. So you kind of have to think strategically about where to place these kind of color cards. Next game up is Lie, and this is kind of like a Liar's Dice kind of game, and they actually do have these dice on the cards. And basically what you do here is you play just like in Liar's Dice, that you get 5 random cards, and then what you're trying to do is you're trying to, I guess, claim how many dice is around everyone's hand, and then the next person may up you on your bet, or they may call you out, and if you're wrong, then you get to draw 1 less card until you actually have none, and then you're out of the game, and the last person who's in the round will win. I guess the reason why I really like this game is because it's basically Liar's Dice, but it's just in a very small pocket-sized form. And the last game I'm going to talk about is Shh. So in this game, which is a cooperative game, is that you're trying to use all the letters in the alphabet, the vowels and the consonants, and trying to make words out of those. You have to make words at least 3 letters long, and it's turn-based, so one player will go, and you can also pass, as long as you have pass cards already. But if you can't make a word, or if you don't have any more passes left, then that's it. That's the end of the game, and it's game over. The catch of the game is, as this title says, it's shh. So that means no talking aloud, and it's a really fascinating game because it's a very simple concept, but it's pretty hard. And that's my preview for Chris Handy's pack of games. I mean, these are just little curious little things. I mean, look how small they are. I mean, for a game that plays around 10 to 15 minutes. I mean, each of these plays around 10 to 15 minutes. And it's an interesting design choice for these kind of games. And you get 8 of them, I mean, and there's more to come. So that's my preview for Chris Handy's pack of games. Thanks. Say a friend of the blend, and remember to keep on stacking games.
Hey everybody, for today's Quirky Game, we are taking a look at Desert Island. Desert Island here is a follow-up to a game called Lifeboat, in which you were on a lifeboat, you were trying to survive and gather the most loot, not go overboard, things like that. This one is an evolution of that, both thematically and mechanically. The theme is, you've survived the lifeboat adventure, you've finally landed on an island, and you are now trying to, same thing, get rescued and survive. Mechanically, this one adds a few new twists that are an evolution on the original game. But let's back up a little bit. The game is very quirky for a couple of reasons. One, it has a very clever system of love and hate. In it, you are one of the characters, one of several characters, and you secretly love someone else on the island and secretly hate another character. And depending on whether those characters survive or don't make it, you are going to be scoring points at the end of the game. That all sounds a little bit morbid, but it adds to a really interesting web of push and pull. A really interesting fights in the game where someone is having a fight with someone else, and so characters will jump in on one side to help out the defender or the attacker, and then since someone else jumps in and I hate them, oh, hold on, I'm going to jump in on the other side, and there's going to be a showdown, which is really clever and interesting. So that's one thing. The other thing I find makes the game quirky and engaging is that if you role play it up, the game really comes to life, and I like that a lot. It's just a little card game. It's a little box, a handful of cards, but they are chock full of theme, of character, of interesting moments to allow for role-playing, and I like that a lot. You have the characters, for one thing. You got the captain and Frenchie and the first mate, Lady Lauren and Sir Stephen, that you can, of course, role-play up. And then there's the kid, who is a slippery little kid. And then on top of that, in this game, which is also an evolution of the original, in the original, you were sitting in the lifeboat in some specific order, and typically being at the front of the boat or at the end of the boat was the best thing. In this one, the locations are all different now, and so depending on where you are, you have a special different ability. And sometimes you want to move from one place to another. You want to move from the beach into the jungle, because being in the jungle, you need less food to avoid being hungry. Or you want to move into the spring, because the character of the spring is going to gain extra food when they forage. Or you want to go all the way to the cave, and in the cave, the character at that location gets an extra fate card, because you're trying to get rescued also. And you gather goods, you try not to become hungry, not to become sick. You, again, play off of each other and what other people are trying to do. You gather loot. You try to survive. It's really... The game manages to put a little adventure in a box, in a tiny little card game, you know. And that's what I like about it so much. That's why I think it is so quirky. Yeah, it's not perfect. It's a little clunky. The rules are perhaps... could be written better. You know, the whole game really attacks the problem of being thematic, so some of the mechanics can be tough to decipher sometimes, but as long as you have a group that's sort of willing to go with it and make a call on the fly if the need be, you're going to get some fun out of this little game. I like it a lot. I think it's interesting, it's clever, love the artwork in it, and I would recommend it for you as well if you enjoy the idea of role-playing it up, you know, with based on a card game like this. If you have a group that's going to get into that, I think this might be a good one. Game that's not getting a lot of love either, and it's certainly quirky. So check this one out. Desert Island. I ended up getting rid of Lifeboat and just keeping this one instead, because I find the mechanisms in this one to be an evolution on the first one, to be tighter. Theme's great. Interaction is still great. The whole thing is really fun. So, check this one out. That is Desert Island for the Quirky Game.
Stairwell 4 secure.
Burgle Bros by Tim Fowers. It's a cooperative heist game, and if you're looking for a lot of game in a little box, you're not going to find a much better ratio than this to this. In Burgle Bros, you and up to 3 other players are going to be members of a squad of thieves, and each thief has a different ability, and there's actually a ton of these different cards, and so they each have a lot of unique player abilities, and in fact, both cards have 2 sides, and so there's an advanced and a simplified variant, and you'll be moving through this 3 floors of this building. It's actually a pretty big board that you're going to be trying to explore. Every time you encounter a room, you'll flip over a tile, and you'll have to deal with whatever you find there. You might find alarms that trigger, locks that keep you out, cameras that help guards spot you, all sorts of complications. And then, of course, there are the safe tiles. And the safe is what we're here to crack. In fact, there's 3 safes, 1 on each floor. And in order to get the treasure out of them, we're going to be looking at combinations, which are based on exploring all of the different rooms that are in the same line as the safe tile. Of course, all of this is going to be a little complicated by the fact that at all times the security guard is going to be patrol. Did you hear that?
So guard movement works like this. At the end of every thief's turn, the guard is going to be moving towards their objective. Once they reach it, they're going to flip over a new card, get a new objective, and start moving towards that one. The guards add a lot of tension to the game. The players are going to have to work together in order to avoid getting caught by the guard.
What I love about Burgle Bros is that it feels a little bit like a roguelike video game. It's different every time you play it. The floor layout changes, the event cards that you flip over change, you're going to be using tools that you'll find and bring all along the way. And what's really fun about it is it's this puzzle that everybody's going to participate in, ducking behind corners to avoid guards, and dealing with the alarm systems, and trying to get through these locked doors and crack these safes before, a guard comes along and basically unceremoniously ends your game. And that's Burgle Bros from Tim Fowers. It's a really fun game. It's totally cooperative, which I think is great. It suits us. Not everybody enjoys a totally co-op game, but we really do. I think my favorite part of it is the variable player powers and how everybody's a little bit different, and it gives you all kinds of different ways of cooperating. What do you think about it?
I think it's a great game. It takes up a lot of table space, but it fits in this tiny little box.
Yeah, it's this little could you? Cool, thanks. Yeah, it's a little box that you could totally throw in a backpack or anything like that, and just take it with you wherever. It spills out onto the table, takes up a lot of space, but it's literally a big game in a small box, and I think that's just really cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm Andrew.
I'm Jess.
And we're Gameosity, and until then, see you next game.
Hi, welcome to Boards and Crafts. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different from the usual segment, and I'm going to be showing you guys a time-lapse of me creating a painting of one of the rubbish cards from a deceptively large game, Sylveon. Let's get started. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.
Hey everyone, it's MaggieBot, and we are back from BGGCon, and we are ready for a new blender. This blender is near and dear to me, as I go to a lot of public game nights. I have to schlep my games around with me. So the bigger they are, the least likely they're going to be added to my game bag, something like Vinos Deluxe or Gallerist. It's really hard to leave the house with those. So when you can get a big amount of game out of a very small form factor, even if they can fit in my purse, excellent, because I will get them played a lot more often. Oldie but goodie, Intrigue from Mayfair Games. This is stuff from Dora Games. This is all negotiation. You have appointments to give, you have ambassadors to go out and take appointments from others, and it's all negotiation, wheeling and dealing, getting money, getting salaries, and at some point a little bit of betrayal. And it is a really interesting way of dealing with your friends. A diplomacy game that you can play in an hour and a half is always really nice, and it just is simple and good, and you can see it's super tiny. Another one that was super tiny that I know I've mentioned before is Sail to India. Hisashi Hayashi made a really cool resource management game. This is a euro and a teeny tiny $15 box. In this game, you have to sail a ship along to India. As you go, you're going to be dealing with markets and taking over buildings and leveling up your tech. All of those require cubes. Also, tracking your gold, tracking your victory points, all of those require cubes. Your cube management is super important because if you don't have the cubes already built into the game, you can't score that victory point. You can't take that gold. It's a really, really great way of managing your resources, and it's all in this tiny little box. The last but not least oldie but goodie is Ayura. Set and Quirkle made a little baby that takes over your entire table. The rule is that you can play this as big as your playing surface. So you can have a small one if you're only playing on a little cafe table, or if you're playing on a dining room table. This will probably take up the whole thing. It is hand management, trying to get all 4 in a row as you go. You double your score as you complete a row. Really smart and fun. The last one was a free game that came at BGGCon to anyone that got the goodie bag. And if you weren't there, I would still highly recommend checking it out. This is Dragon Punch. Dragon Punch is from Level 99 Games. It is a 2-player, played-in-hand type of game. So this can be played in a line or waiting for breakfast or wherever you are, really. Dragon Punch, each player gets a deck of cards, and you're trying to get the other player to run out of their white cards. You go 1, 2, 3, and you punch them, and the different symbols will attack in different ways. And if you get attacked, you have to switch your cards over. When you switch them over, that red side can be much more powerful than the white side. But once you run out of the white sides, you've lost the game. It reminds me a little bit of Oddball Aeronauts, which is a little bit more like poker thinky. This one's more on your toes, quick thinky, but they're both very, very good games. I quite like Dragon Punch and would highly recommend it to anyone watching. That's all for me for now, and I will see y'all next time. Bye!
What's up guys, Ben here with another segment of How To Fun. This week we are looking at games that come in small boxes for small price tags, but pack a whole lot of fun. I'm really excited for this segment because it is one of my favorite games. It totally got me into the hobby, and I owe it a lot of respect. The game is The Resistance Avalon. So let's go ahead and take a look and see how to make it more fun. The Resistance Avalon is a team-based social deduction game in which loyal servants of King Arthur will take on the evil minions of Mordred. Throughout the course of the game, players will be assigned to participate in quests, given a success and fail card. These cards will then be submitted based on your team affiliation. As an evil minion of Mordred, you may want to sabotage the quest or help it succeed. But in the end, ultimately, the winning team will have either 3 successes or 3 fails over the 5 rounds. The game comes with a number of special roles to help keep the game fresh and exciting. Overall, it's a wonderful game for friends and family to enjoy together. So you're probably pretty familiar with this genre of game. It's a social deduction. This was probably the first one I got that ever really had this element. I had played, Murder in the Dark and the werewolf with the pen and paper, but never really an actual border card game with social deduction. And I saw reviews of this thing and watched some playthrough videos, and it looked fascinating. I was so excited to start yelling at my friends and saying, "You're the traitor, you're the liar," all that fun stuff, the mind games where you're double thinking and stuff. I knew it was something that could catch on with my friends, especially those that aren't really huge into board games. But it did take a while to get to the table. It just doesn't sound that appealing, I think, at first, when you're like, well, you're a knight for Arthur and you go on quests, and, well, you don't really go on the quest. You kind of just choose if you succeeded or failed. Well, yeah, you fail because you're bad, but you don't want to always fail because you want to think people think you're good. Yeah, it doesn't really sound as enjoyable as it is, but I finally got to the table, and man, it was so fun. By far one of the best gaming experiences I've had to date. And so I couldn't wait to play it again and again and again and introduce it to new person here, new person there, family, friend, whoever it could be, guy on the street, anyone I could get to play this game, I was willing to, because it's just so much fun. And it was a lot of fun at first. So here's the problem with this game and a lot of other games similar to it. Games that can fit a wide range of players, like this one's 5 to 10, and play relatively quickly in 30 minutes, can get played a lot. They fit in very nicely into game nights, and especially if they're as enjoyable as this one, it will get played a ton. I played this game probably 40 to 50 times in the first 6-7 months that I had it. Yeah, it was a lot. And unfortunately, I kind of burned out on it. Even to this day, I've had it for probably 3 years now. Yeah, roughly 3 years. I'm still a little hesitant to get to the table because it just, it's lacking something. I don't know what it is. It's so hard to describe. But it's not as enjoyable as it was, and that's what kills me. I know that it's better than this, but I can't get that enjoyment out of it anymore. I'm trying to figure it out. I really am, and I'll let you know if I do. But for the time being, my advice to make this game maybe not more fun, but longer lasting fun, is to take it easy. If you have this or the Resistance, take your time playing them. Don't burn out. Talk your friends into other games. Be a little flexible when it comes to what you play each time you get together. On the other hand, if you don't have this game, go get it. I know the Resistance is probably the more well-known, but the expansions that come in this one are so worth it. It's the same price point as the Resistance, but you get so much more game. I know the theme's maybe not as good as the whole spies infiltrating, the government, dystopian future theme that's so popular with indie boards and cards, but this game is much better. Just do it. Get this. Play it. But play it sparingly. That's my tip to you. Let me know in the comments if you have any game that maybe you burnt out on because you played it too much, too fast. I'd love to avoid that next time I play that game. But in the meantime, keep playing games, keep having fun. See ya.
It's board game, speed date night, all is cool, nothing frantic. I am naturally polite, spontaneous and romantic. That's the one, more beautiful than I've ever seen. Stay cool, play the game. I'll pick the color of her eyes. That's green. Do I beat her just to show her that I can? Do I let her win to show her I'm a gentleman? We've got something going. Please don't let me blow it. What's gonna be the plan tonight? We are meant meant to be. Smiling angels look down from above. Ooh, she's into me. See, she's moving red, the color of love. She's dancing in my mind, making moves I will never forget. The stars are aligned. Oh, I don't want to play hard to get. Do I beat her just to show her that I can? Do I let her win to show her I'm a gentleman? We've got something going. Please don't let me blow it. What's gonna be the plan? This is more than I could wish for. My parents will be so proud of me. I'll take care of you. We will get a dog and have children. I'm thinking 3. I am winning. No more lonely nights as a geek. I will tell her now that I love her so. And as winner, I'll take one on the cheek. I am naturally polite, spontaneous, and romantic. That's the one.
Hello folks, Mark here, and welcome to Thinking Inside the Box. In this series, I'm focusing on inserts, storage solutions, and games that already do both really well. You know, one of my favorite co-op games from 2015 was Burgle Brothers. You and your fellow players are members of a crew trying to pull off a robbery of a highly secure building. Well, without getting caught, of course. The building has 3 floors, each with its own safe to crack. Players start at the first floor and have to empty the safe on each level and escape to their helicopter waiting on the roof. You must work together using your special abilities to avoid being caught by the security guards who patrol each floor of the high-rise. Burgle Brothers is a cooperative game for 1 to 4 players, ages 12 and up, and playtime is about 90 minutes. This big game comes in a rather unique small box that looks like a skyscraper, and it's a bit of a tight fit to get everything back in the box. So let's take a look at a unique insert. And it doesn't come from any of the main insert makers. It's designed by Hoskins Lasermade on Etsy. Each one is handmade of foam board, making it very light, and is designed to organize all the game components and still fit inside this rather unique game box. It includes a bottom divider to hold all the cards, floor tiles, and walls, and a top divider to hold the characters, guards, dice, and organize all the game tokens. I really like how each of the token slots is labeled for easy organization. It allows for a much quicker setup and access to all the tokens throughout the game. It's very small and compact. Everything fits perfectly. The insert does come in 2 flavors as well. One for sleeved and one for unsleeved cards. It's really reasonably priced, which is great. I must also give a shout out to Daft Concepts, also on Etsy. They've created this amazing 3D tower. It has insets that hold all the tiles and walls perfectly. There are special shelves for the patrol, loot, tool, and event cards. It even includes a helipad at the top of the tower, all of which really helps pull the theme together. Truly feels like you and your crew are running around a high-rise building. So if you haven't tried it, give Burgle Brothers a closer look. A really unique take on cooperative games. Tim Fowers has done a fantastic job with this one. I really like how puzzly and different each game plays. All right, folks, thanks for watching. Happy organizing, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.
folks, welcome back to another Real Talk segment on the Blender. Thanks for being a friend of the Blend. This week we're talking about big games that come in small boxes, and automatically my mind went to two specific two-player games that have really captured that feeling for me. They come in a really small box, but man, when you're playing the game, it really feels like you're part of this just huge sprawling game with very crucial, excruciating decisions. Now, the first one that I'm talking about is this guy right here, Onitama. Now, this is probably the closest I will ever come again to playing chess, and that is because I'm not very good at chess to begin with, but I'm okay at this game. I still get beat at it regularly, but at the same time, it still gives me that chess-like feel. The thing about this that really intrigues me is the fact that there are only 5 moves that are being used throughout the course of the game. Your opponent starts with 2, you start with 2, and there's one that will begin to make its rounds after turns are being made. Now, with Onitama, you have 2 moves, and you have to use one of those moves, and once you do, you swap it with the one that's on the side, and that one becomes yours, and the one you just used becomes the one that your opponent is about to take. So if you get beat at Onitama, which happens regularly to me actually, you are actually giving the moves that your opponent used to win to them. So it's like they're beating you at your own game, and that's what it really feels like. But on the flip side, when you win, you've beat them at their own game. And that's one of the really cool tension-y parts of the game for me, is that you're both using the same moves, and one person is ultimately going to become the winner. This is a huge game in a very small box, not as small as it probably could have been, but the components that Arcane Wonders put in here are really cool. So there is that. So that's my first game that is small box, but big game, Onitama. And the next one I'm going to talk about is one that if you have watched any videos with any consistency in the recent past, you will have heard me talking about this game before. Everybody I show this game to has walked away loving it. Now, that's at least what they told me. Maybe it is that they have just said, they walked around the corner and said, what a crappy game. I don't know. But they've told me face-to-face that this is an amazing game, and they asked where they can get it right off the bat. Well, Hanami Koji is definitely in there for me. Look at the size of this thing. It's dinky. I feel like Will Smith. I think I'm going to break this thing. Anyway, this is a game that is completely deceptive in how small it is, but how big it plays, because you only have 4 decisions that you have to make on your turns, and you have to make them. You make them in any way that you want, in any order that you want to, but you have to make them, and that's where things get tough, because you are giving your opponent first choice on some of the 2 of the choices that you have to make, and those are excruciating, because you don't know for sure if you're giving the person the ability to take the card that they need to beat you this turn, or if it's really going to work out the way that you have it planned. This has a really neat I pick, you choose mechanism in it for 2 of the 4 things that you have to do on your turns, and just the elegance that this game really kind of kicks you straight in the brain is amazing to me. It's one of my go-to 2-player abstract strategy games, because the art is beautiful on it. The theme, while it's there, isn't necessarily connected, but it is very well implemented by the artwork, and I have just had great success showing this to new people, and I really do enjoy the game a lot. So that is Hanami Koji, big game, small box. Now look, I'm just trying to keep it real here, folks, so please, we'll see you on the flip side.
For today's game, Under the Radar, I'm taking a look at this little box right here, Pocket Rockets. This one from designer Antoine Boza of Seven Wonders fame, of Ghost Stories fame, is a really clever little game that comes with some cards and some tokens. That's it. And it is mind-blowing to me that so few people have heard of it, that it hasn't been reprinted, that it hasn't been picked up by a different company and republished, and this game could stand to be a little bit bigger. Now, it doesn't need to be bigger, and in fact, I guess the pocket part of the packaging is one of the points that makes it appealing, but there's enough gameplay here to make this a more lavish production and have the gameplay support that. The game's pretty straightforward as far as what it is you are doing. You are going to be moving your pawn around a circle made up of cards on the table, and you are going to be gathering parts for various rockets and then building those rockets out in front of you. At the end of the game, you're going to get points for having completed rockets and some bonus points for different nose cones, things like that. You also earn some special abilities throughout the game that let you move around the factory, around the circle in both directions, and give you a few other different powers. The gameplay is clean, it's simple, but it's very clever. And for a set collection game, this one does it really, really well. I love the theme, love the look of it, but it's the mechanisms that I think make this one stand out a little bit. I was not expecting it. I figured if it's going to be a set collection game that's this small, you're going to make piles of cards, you're going to take some cards, right? It does not have that feeling. It's not a rummy style game. It is a clever set collection game where you need to manipulate the mechanisms to do well. That's what I like about it so much. Really neat stuff. Criminally underrated, as I said. I have never heard anybody talking about it, and I think it should be much more popular. So, if you ever come across it, I would definitely say pick it up. You're going to like it. Is it going to be your favorite game ever? No, probably not. But I think it's going to surprise you how much game is in this little package, you know? So, check it out, look into it, and hopefully it will not be under the radar forever, because I'd love to see this one come back. So there you have it. That is Pocket Rockets. Look into it. Boop, 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 boop.
Hey guys, it's Nerd E here, and today's Who Am I is going to be focused on big games that come in small boxes. And the game I'm talking about today is actually a game that doesn't even have to have a box at all, Werewolf. So Werewolf is a game that's sometimes called Mafia, that literally is about the people you're around and trying to deceive them. And because of that, the box this game can come in literally is whatever you have lying around. You can use playing cards, you can use coins, you can use pieces of paper. All you have to do is be able to differentiate who the werewolf is and who the villagers are. Now there's ways to add other different types of people that can do different things, seers and that kind of stuff. But if you want to play just the regular with just villagers and werewolves, you really need only the stuff that's lying around in front of you. You can use a quarter, and that's going to be the werewolf. Everyone else gets a nickel, and you hand out money to everybody, and only that person knows what they got. I mean, anything can be used. There's literally no box, so I can't think of anything better for big games and small boxes than Werewolf. So in Werewolf, well, where am I? Well, either I'm a villager or a werewolf, and if I'm a villager, I'm playing as a person trying to figure out who the werewolf is before I die. And if I'm the werewolf, I'm trying to kill all the villagers. The way I do that is I'm going to go to bed at night if I'm a villager, and then hopefully wake up, and then we'll vote on who I think was the werewolf, and we'll talk about things and see if we can figure out who it is. And if you're a werewolf, then at night you'll tell the moderator who you're killing, and they'll die, and then they won't wake up the next morning. Very simple gameplay. So the question now is, who am I in this? Is really, I'm a villager, if I'm a villager, meaning that all I'm doing is sleeping during the night phase and then trying to coerce my fellow villagers to figure out who the right person is and say, it's not me, it must be someone else. If I'm the werewolf, then I am killing someone at night and trying to convince everyone that it wasn't me during the daytime. I think that's really cool. I think it's very much, you have to get into the setting and the role-playing aspect of it for it to be very well received, though. So how am I? Of course, how am I? I think it's great because you're putting yourself in this position of trying to convince your fellow villagers that either you're a good guy or you're a bad guy, or convince them otherwise if you're a bad guy. And I think it's great. It really brings it down to that Salem aspect of trying to figure out who the witch is, and people saying, it's not me, and accusing their partners and everything else. I think it really works well. I think it really puts you in that old-timey village atmosphere. And I think that a game like this that literally needs no components except for something to tell who the werewolf is from the villagers, I think is a great game. Great, big, fun game. You can play it with hundreds of people if you really wanted to in a small box, and in this case, sometimes no box. That's Werewolf, and thanks for watching.
And that's going to do it from us, everybody. Big thanks to everyone for tuning in. A big thank you, of course, to my contributors for their wonderful segment. Do not forget to enter that contest from Renegade Game Studios. Check them out. And as always, hey, stay a friend of the blend. I'll see you next time.